Welcome to the Connected Networker Show. My name is Barry Copus. I'm the host and producer of the show, which talks to influencers, authors, CEOs, and networking organizations. Today, I have a very special guest from South Africa, Nolan Pillay. And I'm just going to give you a little bit of background about Nolan. I'm just going to read his bio here. Nolan is a human mindset specialist, a life coach, speaker, enlightened warrior, and author of his latest book, which is titled, I just have to get the title of the book here. Where is it now?
My COVID Journey.
My COVID Journey. Okay. Okay, let's expand this more here. Let's see here. Okay. He is also the brilliant dynamic founder of the trademark self-development program, Be the Best Version of Yourself, running under the company Straight Talk with Nolan Limited. His latest online course called Obstacles Make Me Stronger speaks about mental wellness, depression, suicide, limiting beliefs, and how we as humans go through life allowing ourselves to feel suffocated. Without having any real life role models to guide him, Nolan kept himself motivated by delving into whichever self-development programs he could interest in and studied with the best in the world. He has studied under the likes of the late legendary Bob Proctor, Tony Robbins, T. Harv Eker, Vishen Lakhani, Naveen Jain, and other international coaches, currently also an ambassador with Mind Valley. His core focus is on the youth in Africa and has created a moonshot, transform 1 million lives in Africa, starting with our teens and young adults by enhancing their mindsets and thought process through our coaching, authentic leadership, and personal mastery programs. Much like many South Africans today, Nolan's childhood was a humble one. He has seen poverty and hunger, done homework by candlelight, worked multiple jobs to put food on the table, and to get himself through school. He spent just over 2 decades as an IT consultant specialized in SAP. Nolan is also a philanthropist. Together with his foundation, Be the Best Version of Yourself, they work on various projects. This year, they climbed one of the highest mountains in Africa, Mount Kilimanjaro, to raise funds and give the gift of hearing to a child. Even more inspiring is that 5 of the 7 climbers are from the deaf community. He believes this is the start to bridge the gap between the hearing and deaf communities. In 2019, Nolan can be remembered for summiting Mount Kilimanjaro, raising funds to give the girls in rural areas access to sanitary pads, something he believes should be free. Nolan had a near-death experience in January 2021 with COVID pneumonia. But through his learnings, experiences, and daily practices, he was able to come out of it. Through his strong mindset and will to live, he turned his painful experience into a success story and became a first-time author to help others who have lost ones realize what a COVID patient goes through and allow them to reach some peace and closure. His book also shares mind hacks and techniques that one can use for any obstacle in life, contributing, collaborating with others, a fulfilling service that uplifts our communities and the world at large. So he's actually worked with a whole line of people: Lisa Nichols, Jim Quick, Robin Sharma, Sukumar Rayo, Reverend Michael Beckwith. I know a lot of these people here. Ken Wilber, Charlie Morley, Dr. Michael Brias, Ken Honda, Naveen Jain, we mentioned that before, Cameron Harold, and Anodia Judas. So it looks like you've really been around the world working with these great people. So welcome to the show, Nolan.
Thank you, Barry.
So
Thank
you have quite a life story. So tell me, you've done a lot of stuff already. Like, how did you get involved in all this? Because you came from the IT world, you mentioned in your bio.
Yeah, that's really a good question. For me, the turnaround was in 2019. So, I spent the most of my career in being a SAP consultant, but something happened in 2019 where I realized that in corporate South Africa, you still have to undergo inhumane behavior. Now, I could have just taken this in a negative light and just thought, okay, fine, be angry about it, be upset about it, etc. But I saw it in a different light. I saw it as something that I term my beautiful destruction, because it allowed me to get out of that toxic environment and start finding out a bit more of who Nolan is and what Nolan really wants to do with his life. And this is when, Barry, I started realizing my purpose. And the purpose was all about humanity. Now, just going into your purpose, you just don't think up the word humanity and say you want to do something about it, right? Because I had to start connecting the dots backwards and see what was really touching me in my life, what had happened from the day I was born all the way into adulthood. And humanity always stuck out for me purely because my background is one of poverty, extreme poverty. I mean, when I tell you going to school on a rainy day with no shoes or no jersey, and your bones feel like brittle, like it's gonna break over, that's the kind of conditions we were accustomed to. Let alone not having meals to even eat, sometimes going to bed hungry. So when I look at that in that human behavior, the more I realize it was all lessons that I was learning in life. But the one key thing that stands out is I refuse to stay in that victim mindset or that self-pity mindset. And that's what got me to be who I am today. And it's allowing me to live a much, much more purposeful life.
So, at what point did you decide to leave the IT world, the corporate toxic world, and then write a book and then connect with all these personal development coaches?
So it was in June 2019. I was working for a corporate, and I was like being treated like in very racial behavior. Uh, People were like just being totally racist to me, totally inhumane to me. And that's when I said, okay, this is an opportunity to get out. This is a sign from above that says move on. So if you look at my bio from 2019, I started focusing a lot. That was the time when I joined Mind Valley, which is more of an educational platform. But what Mind Valley brings is it brings a lot of different authors to the fore. Authors like Naveen Jain, Jim Quick, and Nodia Judith, the likes of them, Lisa Nichols, etc. So when I looked at all of this learning, I said, wow, here's something that can help me boost myself into becoming a better person. All along, it was all about becoming this best version of yourself. Now, this is in 2019. The company Straight Talk with Nolan was started in 2015. But from 2015 to 2019, I did absolutely not much with it, all because I was too comfortable in a corporate job, right? Getting a salary every month, you don't want to change until you go through something like this and you realize, hey, this is a sign. You need to see the positive from this and get out from it. Ever since then, I've just gone so all out. I've been involved in Bob Proctor lessons since about 2010, 2011, even with Tony Robbins. T. Harv Eker, I joined his Millionaire Mind Intensive program way back in, I think it was 2009, around there. And I did various programs with them as well. So what I've realized is that I've had the ability to work on myself. How many people out there don't even know that they need to work on themselves? And this is when I realized that, okay, in order to help other people, you need to help yourself first, get all the necessary skills, and then go out there and make a difference to the world and start telling people or letting people hear your story to say, wow, this guy's been through so much, but look at him today. He's full of energy, he's full of life. What separates him from everyone else that has so much but don't want to move forward in their life?
And I've also observed over the past 2.5 years or 3 years during the COVID lockdown, and this is what I've heard from people, a lot of people are leaving the corporate world because they say, well, I don't want to make the company rich anymore. I want to have freedom. I want to earn my own money, which goes to me and not to some corporate big billionaire guy, whatever, right? So I think there's a trend, and I don't know if this trend has just happened during the COVID times or if it's over the last several years, that a lot of people are leaving corporate America or corporate world and they're going to their own jobs. They're creating their own companies. They're becoming coaches, mindsets, wellness, holistic healing. I've seen a trend over many, many people I've met that worked at great corporate jobs with lots of money and they gave that up to go
Yeah.
onto their own business.
Absolutely. And I think you're absolutely right. The trend has been there. It's been happening for the last few years. But I think COVID was like a real eye-opener when people, actually humans like us, started realizing that, wow, during this COVID struggle, you still get treated in a bad way. And people started asking themselves deeper questions like, do I need to put up with this? I was one of the guys in corporate who was traveling like twice a month internationally, getting paid a good salary. I mean, if I tell people, this is what the benefits I had, they'll say you are stupid to leave corporate. But why be in something where you are not happy, where you're just gonna wake up every single day, going to work and feeling miserable? Is that how we want life to be lived? No. And I think more and more people are realizing this now as well, and they're seeing the opportunity to get out and do something on their own, to become entrepreneurs, etc. And with entrepreneurs, we have a lot of them out there as well. In South Africa, if I speak about it just for a minute, we have a lot of entrepreneurs. The difference, Barry, is a lot of these entrepreneurs are chasing something that they're not passionate about. Now, what happens with this is they tend to do a business in a certain way, and they jump from one startup to next all the time. So they're really not living a purposeful life in that way. So what I tend to do is I like to talk to them and guide them and say to them, why don't you find something that you really want to do? Why don't you find something that will allow you to live a purposeful life, something that will sustain you for the rest of your life, the next 5 years, 5, 10 years at least. So this is the myth or the misunderstanding that people have when they become entrepreneurs. They think entrepreneurs is about jumping from one startup to the next. It's really about sustainability and enjoying what you do.
And one thing I observed during the COVID lockdown, when all the business, at least in Canada, had to close up, those people did not have, they did not know how to pivot their closed brick and mortar business to do business online. So they were stuck. Luckily, our government gave them billions of dollars to help them out, but that still wasn't enough, because they said a lot of businesses folded up forever because they didn't know that this was going to come. And they also didn't have a backup plan from being in business 20 years or 25 years and not knowing that this COVID thing would strike without warning and then shut their business down. And then now they don't know where to go, what to do.
Yeah, exactly. And we know COVID took no prisoners. COVID did not discriminate against anyone, how much of money you had in your bank account, who you were, what you were, not at all. And to me, it's been a blessing in disguise, because a lot of the people that have kind of suddenly awoke or woken up from this dark space that they've been in, and I say dark space in with due respect, in the sense that something like this has to happen in order for a person to realize that they can do so much more better with their life. And that's what happened throughout the world as well. Companies are there, right? Companies are there. People join companies to be comfortable. But what's been happening, the trend that I've been seeing in a lot of the corporates is they are not looking after their employees. It's all about that dollar chase. And when it's about the dollar chase, you don't care who you trample on. You're just chasing after that huge number, that profit. And that's not good, because if you take your people out from your building, what do you have? You just have a building. You can't really go far, right? So this is where, I'm hoping that corporates do learn this. Treat your employees well. Start looking after your employees, because they are your business. Without them, you have nothing. And COVID showed that, right?
And I've also observed too that because a lot of these companies are sort of getting back in business, now they can't find the employees that want to work there because the employees don't like the conditions and they want more money. So in some ways, I've heard this, that it's employees market now, because the employees can decide when and where they want to work and for what wage and benefits they want in order to go back in there. And the last point I'll make too is that because employers can't find the qualified people, they're saying, for example, restaurants are dropping their criteria that if you don't have serving experience or cashier experience, we'll still hire you, because we can't be specific anymore about those job titles. As long as you can talk to people right properly, you can come and work for our restaurant.
Wow.
So because they had to relax some of those qualifications before COVID, they could dictate all those qualifications, right? But they can't do that anymore because people are very particular on where they want to work and what benefits they want. You have to give me these benefits before I'll step in. I'm 20 years as a waitress, but I won't step into a restaurant with my skills because I want you to give me the proper, like you say, benefits and treatment.
Exactly, because people need to feel valued, right? Because how long can can someone go on in corporate and just work for the same salary and have the small increase every single year, and they know they are worth much more than that, and that's why a lot of people have left corporate, because they realize the value that they can bring to the rest of the world is much more higher than what they actually can give in the company as well. And that value could be anything, right? You don't have to have a piece of paper to be a really good, authentic leader. You just need to be a really, really good person who's willing to learn and grow through the process.
Because I know one fellow in Winnipeg, he's an ex-football player, and he runs a chain of restaurants called Schwarmicon. And because his business had to close down during COVID, he was think outside the box kind of guy, and he pivoted. So he actually did an online delivery service where he got lots of companies to say, okay, you put your website and products on my website, and I'll deliver the products right to the door. So he thought outside the box, right? All my restaurants are closed down. I can't do any business with my food business. However, I will get all kinds of businesses together on a website. I think it's called shoplocal.ca, and I'll help those people out. I've got the smarts to do the website and get, your pictures and what service or products you sell, and then I'll advertise that to the city of Winnipeg. So that's what he did, and was very successful. But he's one of the few people that pivoted that way. Most people said, oh, my business closed down. I guess I can't do anything more. I got to go home and just lie in bed and see what happens.
Yeah, that's kind of sad, right? Because people have so much of brilliance within them as well. And like you said, they need to think out the box, because there's an abundance of opportunities out there. There's an abundance of ideas that we can come up with. Look at where we are now in 2022, and just rewind maybe 60, 70 years ago. The opportunities back then, there were a lot, but not as much as we have now. With technology, etc., we have to be changing with the times and becoming more creative, more innovative, and coming up with these ideas. And we can only do that once we have this mindset that we can do better, and there is an abundance out there. So a lot has to do with the way people think and behave.
And one thing people don't realize either, besides going to university or college or the formal education system, as long as it doesn't reach to medical area, there is so much education available at no cost or low cost online that you say, I don't know anything about website creation. Okay, you can go take a course in how to do website creation, or a little mini webinar, right? I know how to do marketing. You can go attend a webinar that would teach you how to do marketing. I don't know how to advertise. You can go attend a webinar to do that, right? There is so much education that if you're stuck, you turn on your computer, hook up to the internet, start Googling, and you'll find lots of education out there that you could not get in university or college, because this is timeliness education, right? It's 2022 concepts. We're not talking 10, 15 years education. We're talking 2022. And that's what most people don't realize, is if I need to be educated, it's out there on the internet. You just have to set 2 hours of time aside and go get educated.
Yeah, you must be committed to your personal growth, right? That's the key. And being committed to your personal growth doesn't mean that you can just sit and relax and binge watch TV the whole day. Because a lot of people still have this mindset that, oh, okay, fine, COVID had come in, and this is exactly what they did with COVID. Because COVID was there and they felt they're working from home, how many of them really put in the X amount of hours per day? A lot of them just tended to just fool around and just do basic stuff, not go online and educate yourself more. And a lot of us have decided that, wow, there's a whole world out there on this laptop of ours. Why don't you become more creative and go and learn more as well? I always say to people that there's only one way. And this is, you don't just go through a phase, you grow through it. Because a lot of people tend to, any obstacle that they face, they just want to go through this obstacle and see where it takes them. Why not grow through the obstacle and learn from it, so that the next time another obstacle comes in, you're much more consciously aware on how to deal with it, and you will deal with it better. So this is what we need to get people out there to start doing, is to understand that as humans, we all have unlimited potential within us. We need to tap into it.
And
And
one
we
of the
need,
things that, oh, sorry, go ahead. What were you
no,
going to say?
sorry, I was saying, and use it to our benefit.
And one thing I was going to mention too, that there's been a shift during COVID times where people work. Lots of people working from home.
Yeah.
And these people have been now comfortable and doing very efficient work, working in front of their computer. A lot of employers wanting to come back to the office, they said, I'm more comfortable about working at my house to do the exact same amount of quality work. Why do I need to come back to the office when I'm working from home? I got a fellow that works for the government of Manitoba, and he's been working from home since the beginning of COVID times. He's very comfortable about working from home. And some employers said, we want you to come back, or we'll fire you, or we'll lay you off, and you better have a job. And so there's a dilemma, right? More stress.
Yeah.
Do I leave my home comfortable position with my family? My kids are at school, my wife is retired, or do I jeopardize being laid off or fired because my employer wants all people to return to work? Even though COVID's still around, it hasn't gone away, right? We're still in COVID times. It's maybe disseminated a little bit, but COVID's still out there, right? And some people say, I'd rather stay at home in my environment. I know my environment very well by going back to an unknown environment, because I don't know if people are going to bring COVID back to the environment. And then all of a sudden I got COVID again, right? So there's a dilemma now. And they said there's a shift taking place now, because all these people that were doing at-home work are now being convinced or coerced to go back to the office. A lot of them don't want to do that.
Yeah, and it's understandably so as well, because if the employer really looked a bit or researched a bit more, it would cost the people travel costs, time on the road, time in the train, etc., just to get to the office and then come back. Whereas when they're working from home, they're much more productive, like you said as well. So the employer should be grateful that they are actually being productive, although they're working from home, and appreciate that at least.
So we would say we just have about 10 minutes left or so. Would you say that now that this COVID struck without warning, that businesses, new businesses are starting up as brand new businesses, should put a backup plan, a plan B, because we don't know down the road if another virus will hit us or some other calamity that's going to cause problems again and shut your business down. So this is kind of a lesson in life learned. It's a hard lesson to learn about things are not as they seem, that you just go along hunky-dory for 25, 50 years and no worries.
No, exactly. And there should always be a backup plan, right? And that's why the drive is to be involved in at least multiple income streams or multiple different businesses, so that you can actually grow through it as well. Staying stuck in one business, anything can happen. I mean, not even COVID. What if a natural disaster strikes and takes out that whole manufacturing plant and you can't really recover? It's the same thing, right? So people need to be thinking out the box all the time and thinking about doing multiple different types of jobs, right? And we're not saying for them to work 24 hours flat out either. If they can manage their time properly, they can be really successful as human beings.
And one category I've discovered, which is getting a lot of trending, is called VAs, or virtual assistants. There are lots of people that will dedicate specific tasks they'll do. If you say, I don't know, do 10 tasks, it's too much. Like I'm already doing a few things myself, right? So they're already VAs. There's an industry out there of virtual assistants that say, okay, we'll take some of the workload off you. We're specialists in editing, video, audio editing, or office skills or social media skills. So if you can't do that stuff, we don't know how to do it properly, we're trained in that area.
Exactly.
Specialized in. So see, most people don't realize that there's all these niche industries out there, like VAs or webinars or summits you can attend, right? And it's all education.
Correct.
And these are proven principles, right? These are not just fly on the wall things, whatever. These are proven principles. As you mentioned, you worked a lot of coaches, right? These are all proven principles that these people have been trained, and their processes work.
They're specialists in it. I have a VA that's out in Indonesia. So I'm not really great at marketing my business. But ever since my VA has taken over, I've seen the number of interactions that are being built from it. And that's so powerful because we have the facilities out there. Why not use them? And it's all about collaborating, right? With different people. This is what really it's about. Network and collaborate and not think that you can do everything on your own. I mean, even 5 years ago, people thought that they could still work in silo environments, right? Not anymore. You got to work together.
And then that's why I actually interviewed a guy the other day where he runs about 4 different companies or organizations, and he's got teams for each one. If he does a talk show, there's a team for that. If he does a podcast, there's a team for that. If he does coaching, there's a team for that. So he's got these dedicated teams that got the special skills to work in all these areas. He's even in a band, and he's got a team for that, and to market his band. So I said, well, that's a good idea. Taking on 4 entities at once is a lot of work, but he's got these teams in place.
Correct.
This is a team for my band. This is a team for my podcast, a team for my talk show, for coaching. So he's got all these teams in place, and maybe he uses VAs too.
Yeah.
See, I think most businesses don't know. I don't think they've even heard of the word VA because they're in the old culture of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, right? What the heck is a VA? I have no idea. Well, you better get up to date because these people are trained to teach you. I found a VA in the Philippines that could work for $5 to $6 an hour doing editing. I said, I didn't know I could get that cheap. He said, yes, I was referred to this lady, Philip Song, in Philippines. She does audio editing, video editing. And they do between $5 and $6 an hour. That's their labor rate. And they'd be happy to work on a project. If you need editing, audio editing. I didn't know that VAs did that until I discovered somebody. I said, oh, you need to go find an audio editor. I said, well, I'm trying to find one, but I can't find one. Well, I got a VA in the Philippines. She does audio and video editing. So we're going to do a Zoom call next week and see what kind of editing she can do for me.
That's awesome. And they're good at it as well, right? And in the same breath, what you're actually doing is you're actually creating employment as well for them. So this is how the world should be, right? It goes around.
That's right. And you see, another thing that I always do too, and I tell people to do this, is referrals. It's not always about you, right? Oh, send me business my way. It's about referrals. What can I refer back to you? Could I send you some clients? Could I send you resources that might you look at? Maybe you want to be in a podcast, TV talk show. That's a referral I'm giving out, right? People say, I only want to take. I don't want to give. Well, that's not the way this world works. They say that if you give more, it'll come back at some point from the universe to give back. And that's what's happened to me now. I'm giving a lot of lots, and people are giving back to me. Because if you're a giver, I think that was Ivan Meisner said, you have to give versus take, right? Be a giver first, and then be a taker last, right?
Exactly. Always do more. Like even when you work in a corporate environment, right? Always do more than you're actually getting paid for.
That's
right.
Go
the extra mile. Go the extra mile. And it will come back to you at some point. And that's brilliant because Michael Beckwith, one of the guys I learned with, he always said this: in the world is round. The more you give, the more you can receive. But you got to complete the circle of giving and receiving. You can't just receive all the time and not give back, because then you're breaking the chain.
So in the last few minutes, can you give some good tips for people that might need some insight and to be first-time business people or pivoting from their brick and mortar business? What kind of quick tips would you give people?
So I always say to people that the first thing they need to do is make sure they understand what they really want to do. So if they are going into a business, always go back, revisit the values that they have in their lives and see if the values tie up to what they really want to do, so that they can make it much more purposeful and much more fruitful for themselves. And the next part is, once they decide that, they have a purpose now. What do you do when you have a purpose? You need to start taking action. And when I say action, you need to take serious action. You need to be focused on your goal. Set yourself a goal, even if it's in a year's goal or 6 months or 3 years down the line. Set yourself some goals and work towards your goals every single time. And the moment you start taking action towards those goals, watch how it manifests automatically, because you are putting in the legwork. So don't just say you want to start a business and just sit back and expect things to work for you. It doesn't work like that. You got to put in the footwork.
So in the last couple of minutes, can you give people how they can contact you? Are you on social media? Do you have a website, an email address?
Sure. Thank you, Barry. So people can look for Nolan Pillay 360.com. And when you click on Nolan Pillay 360.com, you'll have access to all my socials, all my foundation as well, and even my details on there. So you'll even have access to my website. You can connect with me directly from there.
Well, I want to thank you very much for talking with us today and giving insight into your life story. It was a pretty powerful life story you shared, and all the powerful people you've worked with. That was very impressive. So thanks very much for your time. And we just got a minute or so left. So I just want to wish you a happy day and best of success.
Thank you,
And
Barry.
if you ever visit Canada, look me up in Winnipeg. I'll be happy to show you around our city.
Absolutely. I know it's going to happen in the near future. I will make a trip and definitely see you guys. But thank you so much, Barry, for your
Yes,
time.
you have
Really
a great
appreciate
day, Nolan.
you as well. Take
Okay.
care.
Okay,
Cheers.
bye.
Bye.
Don't